All right, so let's start with acting. How did you get into the acting world?
Um, I got into the acting world accidentally. Um, I was in high school and it was history class and just living my life, and it was like the first 2 weeks of school, sophomore year, and then we had switched seats that day, and I happened to sit next to my friend who was in like the choir. And at that time, it happened to be that the director told all the students, hey, if you guys get some boys to audition for the choir, because we're low on boys, then I'll give you $10. And so she came to me, she said, hey, can I ask you a favor? Could you audition for the choir to help me get $10? It's just a small favor. I was like, sure, yeah, no worries. So I go during lunch and go do the audition, and the director gives me all the tests, and he looks at me and he goes, where did you come from? Math class. Well, your schedule is going to change, and we're going to put you here and here and here, and you're going to do this and that. That's how I got into choir and acting and musicals. And
So you're being a good friend. You were basically like, I'll go do this. You end up getting a career, essentially, going onto a path to a career.
she got $10, I got a career.
I think you made out pretty well in that deal.
Yeah.
So here you are, you're playing David. You auditioned for this role. What was it like to receive the news that you were going to be taking this on? Because it's a big role to take on.
I mean, it's pretty life-changing when someone tells you you're going to be the lead of a new TV show and you're going to play David. I mean, of all the different people to play, I think David is one of the most interesting people because he's just, there's so much duality in him. He's the epitome of what it means to be human, to make mistakes, but to truly have a heart for God and a heart that seeks after God's own heart. I think that's one of the main themes that we explore in the show, and what the story of David is about. And I'm blessed to be able to tell that story.
You know, coming into it, how much of the story were you familiar with? How deeply did you know David's arc and Saul's arc?
I mean, I was pretty familiar. Like, it's a pretty popular story. But the difference comes when, like, you get the script and you get the scene and you're like, you go back to the Bible. Okay, what does this look like? And then trying to find the humanity and who these people were, and trying to find what their motives were, what their day-to-day life looked like, what their diets were, how early they had to wake up, what was it like working with sheep, what was it like when one of your sheep was taken from the flock? Is it a flock of sheep, or is it a different word for sheep?
We'll go with flock because I think.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, I mean, it's everyday mundane things that we tend to look over, but these are the things that make these people who they are. It's a wonder just to get to dive into that. And then it truly puts context into everything that's happening, typically.
Yeah. Well, and I know faith is a part of your life, your family's life. You know, has this sort of changed the way, because of bringing these, I'm going to use the word characters, real life people in the Bible to life in this way? Has that changed how you see Scripture, how you see even other stories in the Bible?
Yeah. Because now I view it from a point of view as just human beings. And so I put the context of that time and of these people into the story. Like I was reading, the story of Samson with that context, and it just puts a whole different perspective on the Bible, and I think it makes it that much more interesting to read and to discover. Personally, I mean, I love it. And it's so fun as an actor for your job to be discovering more about the Bible. It's like, that's fun.
Yeah. Being able to help other people think through, no matter where they are on the faith scale, what these people went through, what their life was like, and what it would have been like to face a giant, right? To have the courage to do that. What that particular, without giving too many spoilers away, but that particular scene, preparing for that, what was that like? The infamous battle.
We're in it right now, so I'm still discovering. But one of the really interesting things is the fear of it. Like, I guess I always thought of David being so courageous, so brave, but there's none of that without fear. And finding all the stakes of what it means to be the only person from your entire people to choose to go up against the scariest man they have ever faced. And what that really means. And are you willing to truly give up everything, even your life, to protect the ones you love? That's the context that is really being discovered right now, and the context that we're telling. I think we just did the scene this morning of David in the tent with the armor, and him deciding that this armor is not for him. And there's other stuff that happens in the scene that I won't talk about because it's spoilers. But it's just it's beautiful. It's beautiful to just get to look at that and to live in it. And I can't wait for people to see it.
What has been the most challenging, toughest piece? Maybe it's a scene, maybe it's just in general of taking on a role that so many people know and love. Because like a lot of roles, some roles are new, like they've been created. This is one people know David.
Way to put the pressure on me. What's the most challenging?
Part of just walking into that, knowing.
I mean, I go back to the scene where David plays the lyre and sings for the king for the first time. That scene is so special. And living in it is it's a different thing. And I think it's so iconic. We hear about David playing for the king and comforting King Saul. But like, I mean, what was the first time that looked like? Yeah, we get that every day. Like, yeah, he's comforting King, great. But what was the first time King Saul heard David play? And what was that like? He could have died. If the king didn't like it, I mean, you're out. Who knows? What if he's in a bad mood, you know?
And Saul wasn't always the most, stable figure either. So
not at that time. No. Before the lyre, no, he was pretty unstable. So, yeah, that scene, I think, it's gonna. I mean, I don't know how the audience is gonna react, but it's special for me, and I love doing it.
That's awesome. How do you want the audience to react to this series in general, not just that scene, but the entirety? At the end of seeing all the episodes, what do you want people thinking and feeling?
I just want them to feel how they feel and to have their own opinions. Make your own opinions about it. But as long as you see the story that we're telling, and as long as you see human beings in front of you, the Bible come to life, my job is done. Everything else is up to the person watching. It's not my job to tell them how to feel. It's just my job to tell it truthfully.
I love that. I love that. And, when it comes to this experience so far, how has it changed you, as a person? In what ways have you developed, grown spiritually in particular?
In many ways. There's a verse that I have hung up in my place right now. It's Proverbs. It's trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. And I think reading that every day, it takes a lot of trust in the Lord to do something like this. Because there are challenges. There's a lot of challenges. But to trust him, to acknowledge him, and to forget the fact that you're making a TV show and it's really fun and that your makeup and hair is all fun and cool. But the reason is to glorify him and to honor him and to put him first. And I think that's one way it's changed me. It's allowed me to put perspective to all of this and to life and to realize why we are living life.
Well, and look at your journey. You came to this country young, acting was something you really wanted to do. Your friend needs the $10, wants the $10. You go and do that. I mean, you can see how the path has sort of been paved for you now, looking back, and there's a lot more, I'm sure, ahead. I appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure.